Silence the phones. It's 11:45. It's Andre Bailey.
Andre
That's
Bailey.
what you want. You don't want nothing else. Andre, be funny. Okay. And we gotta keep going, but we gotta make it interesting.
In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome
Hey,
to
you are watching In the
Sharifah
Studio with Sharifah Hardie, and I have some special guests for you today. You're going to love my new show because now I finally have the opportunity to sit down with some people you've seen before, but people you definitely love. So, who are we speaking to today? I want to go ahead and introduce my first guest. He is a funny man. You'll love him. He performs all across the country with the top talent, Mr. Andre Bailey. Andre, be funny. What are we talking about today? Gonna bring Andre in here. We're gonna introduce him. We're gonna see if he's really funny, if he knows what he's talking about. Our guest is coming into the studio.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you for having me, man. This is all right. I'm in the studio. This is all right. You wouldn't even think they look like this. But, you know what I'm saying? You get here and you're like, oh, okay, I'll see you.
Okay, well, I like it. But enough about me. Let's talk about you.
Okay.
One of the things I like to talk about on any of my shows and all of my shows really is business. And so often people come to me and they say, can you help me? Can you work with me? Because I really don't have any business. And I say, okay, well, what is it that you want to build? And they say, well, I'm a comedian, or I'm a poet, or I have a nonprofit. And I always say, no matter what you do, it's a business, because it's the business of entertainment. Everything has a business if you are collecting some type of revenue or income from it. And some comedians, especially comedians just starting out, maybe not yourself, but will say, I just do it for the fun of it. You know, I do it to get the time. But you're laughing. Why are you laughing? What's so funny?
Because that time is over. That makes funny.
It is? You feel like that?
Absolutely. But no, I know exactly where you're going. Because in the beginning, that's how it feels. You just get up and you're like, oh man, it's nice making people laugh. And then after a while, you're like, well, all these people laughing and these people charging people to get in, and these people drinking and eating. Mm-hmm. I'm just doing it for the love.
Yeah, for the love.
I need some money. I want to drink. I want something to eat. You know, I'm up here starving and thirsty. Everybody eating and drinking around you. So yeah, no. At some point, you think to yourself, you know, maybe this is a blessing that, you know what I'm saying, I can be paid for. So.
Okay, but what is that point? Is there a certain point, a certain dollar amount, a certain crowd, a certain ticket sales? Because I want to go back a little bit in history. I love just sharing, you know, when the comedian Monique, who I love, one of the queens of comedy, she had the whole issue with Netflix on demanding more or wanting more. And there were some people who argued that she's been more an actress, you know, on television and not necessarily converting into ticket sales. So where do you look at, you know, what you're worth, or what that blessing, as you would call it, is worth?
And it is interesting because it's a gift, you know, or it's not something that's tangible. Mm-hmm. You know, it's hard for people to understand where you're coming from when you put a dollar amount on what it is that you do. So,
but other people have, right? Singers, they
Absolutely.
charge. You know, I remember once I was looking at a Beyonce ticket, and her ticket price, nothing against Beyonce, I love her, but it was like $3,700. And I was like, no, I need a private audience for $3,700. I need her right here singing in my living room for $3,700. You know, and it wasn't even. It was. I was like, you know, but that's her gift. God blessed her with her voice.
Absolutely, and that's where I was going with it. Is, you know, I really feel like, you know, you're developing yourself into this entity, and, you know, once you start being able to monetize your gift, you can charge whatever someone is willing to pay you to be blessed by your gift. Like, you don't even know what some of these people are getting from you being up there doing comedy. Some people are not going to go home and beat their wife. Some people are going to not go home and scream at
You
their
really
children.
believe that?
Oh, absolutely.
You believe that a person, you said beat their wife, so the husband, instead of, he goes to this comedy show, he laughs, he has a good time, and he goes home, and now he would have beat her, but now he's not going to beat her because he went to the comedy show.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, most and that's the thing of the world. You know, the world has kind of you know, manipulated the gifts. The gifts were actually meant to be a blessing to people. So singers were meant to, you know, uplift people that are down. Comedians can heal people that are hurting. Poets can, you know, take a person from a loneliness stage into a place where they now want to be around people. I mean, what I do, you know, the Bible says laughter does good to the soul like a medicine. So I'm really a doctor, and
did you go to school for that?
I'm in school right now.
I need a degree. I need a certificate. You know what I mean? Because look, if I had to have heart surgery, I'm not saying I don't believe you. I believe. I'm a believer. Okay. But if I had to have a heart surgery, you know what I mean? I need to know that surgeon, that doctor did some school, studied, got some degrees in that first.
And that's how you look at it in the same aspect of the person doing their gift. Like when people look at a $3,700 ticket from Beyonce, they're not thinking to themselves, well, she just started singing. How her ticket $3,700? No, they're thinking to themselves, man, this girl put in, you know, over 30 years worth of singing now, and she gonna be able to bless you through this, that, the other. When somebody chooses to have me do their church, their birthday party, their anniversary celebration, they're looking at the fact that I've been doing this for 16 years. There's many churches that I've been to.
You keep saying church, and usually when you think of comedy and comedians and stand-up comedy, you don't necessarily think of church, or at least I don't.
Well, yeah, I think it all really depends on the person. You know, I was raised in the church, so to me,
you was doing comedy in church.
I was probably a comedian in church. I just wasn't getting paid for it still.
No, I'm just saying, because to me, when you go to church, it's a kind of, I don't want to use the wrong word, but like somber. It's like, you know, people are serious. You can't be cracking jokes when the pastor's talking.
You know what's crazy is when you grow up in the church, you see all of these positions like the deacon.
Who's the deacon?
Who is the deacon? The deacon is the person that's kind of like over the money and the things like that. And then you got the usher that are more, you know, kind of seeking people, and you got a pastor, and you sitting there as a kid and you thinking, so what am I gonna do in here? And none of the positions was cool that I was really like, I want to do that, until my pastor had some comedians come, and, you know, they were up there being a blessing, and I was like, you could do that in the church. And so that's really what gave me the you know, God showed me, you know, that this was going to be my gift, and what I was going to need to go to school for to be able to heal people the way that they were healing people through their gift.
So you went to school?
I'm in school right now. Every comedy club I go to, every stage I get on is a university, and every comedy club, every stage is my classroom. So
okay, so for someone who just now started out, what is one thing you learned in school?
In comedy school, the main thing I try to tell all young comics is, you know, whatever you need, whatever you want or need, ain't at the university or it ain't at the school, you don't need it. You travel all over, and you want to get some cigarettes or something to drink. If you can't find it on this, at the comedy club, don't leave. But once you leave this campus, now you're in danger. If you can't find it on the campus, I don't need it. So that's what I'm saying.
I think you're not trying to give them the tips. I think they need to know how to start being a comedian. You said don't leave the comedy club. This is my question. Like me, for instance, people say I'm funny. They do. I'm telling you. Somebody in the comments right now, she is funny. I'm funny.
I've seen it.
You seen it?
I've seen it.
Oh, he was laughing.
I don't know about it. I get it.
You giggle?
Yeah, we get it.
I need you to with cackle. I need you to like, you know what I mean? Like what they call it, like a knee slap.
Right. I don't know if you knee slapped me yet, but I've been like, you know what, she got some zeal.
Okay. What I'm saying is, the best advice you just gave me, somebody who wants to go out and be a comedian, is don't leave the comedy store. Like I need to know.
And that
like,
works.
I need to change my life.
That actually works in all aspects because you can't even get better unless you're at the comedy club. Like there's no substitute for stage time. You can be in the mirror. None of that matters. You need 10,000 hours of hearing yourself in a microphone coming out of speaker. Mm-hmm. Whether the people are laughing or not, that's irrelevant. You're in a gym, you're at school, you're supposed to be working out. Some people ain't gonna like what you're talking about, but you've got to figure out, oh, okay, they didn't like that. I got to do it this way. And so it's a gym. The only difference is when we go to the gym, there's people watching. Mm-hmm. Normally, when you go to 24-hour fitness, you want to do those people watching. That's why I don't go to the gym. That's why I don't go to the gym. Not any gym, not just that. Because the little cute females, they always be looking. Okay. Well, normally you be able to do your push-ups, do your little thing, and then just get up out of there. But what we do, if I do a girl push-up, somebody gonna yell out, "Hey, that's a girl push-up," and I got to still do my thing and not be worried about the people that are watching because although they're important, you getting on stage is more important, especially as a young comic. Yeah, man, that's all older comics. You get better. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Who's your favorite comedian? My favorite comedian that I've ever met. Not walk by, I'm talking about like had a conversation with him, man. Like what did you get from that experience? I think the most influential comic that I know is probably Esau McGraw, mm-hmm. Sacramento native. Mm-hmm. So he's from Sacramento, but moved a long time ago to LA. Did he give you any advice though? Absolutely. What did he tell you? Because I want his advice. He tried to give us don't go out because it's very important because most comics have vices. Most comics have vices, and if you can't find, that's probably what I said. If you can't find your vice at the comedy club, you don't need it that night because that's when all the problems happen. When you're trying to go find something that you need, and you leave the comedy club. Boys and girls, this is a public service announcement. Just say no. With that. Just say no. Just no. That's it. 36 hours of my life is gone, but I wanted to. Oh, so this happened to you? Absolutely. That's why you tell it. Okay. You can't find it. Okay, I'm just put it out there. I smoke a little weed. You can't find the weed at the comedy club. You don't need it that night. Because you go somewhere else, now you got to go meet some people that ain't comics. You got to go be somewhere that ain't by the comedy club, and not the police involved. We just went in a whole different. I'm just saying. On the public service announcment, just say no. That is the public service announcement. Just say no, and now you went. Just say no. Sometimes you need it. If it ain't there, you don't need it. See, now she had me. That was almost a knee slapper right there. She is funny. No, I'm just. She is funny. You just gotta get her going. I'm trying to make this like a family show, though. It's not. I guess it's not. Let me find my audience. Who's out there watching first? Because I need to know who I'm talking to. What's funny to me? Even the family need to know what happened out here. What? Because I'm a comic. You need to know what's going on in my life.
What's going on in your life? Do you think comedy is like therapy? Because I don't do comedy, but I love hosting shows.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I host a show, I'm like, okay, this is my therapy. I get an opportunity to just talk and just play and just have fun and just see who's in the crowd I can mess with.
Mm-hmm.
But it's therapy for me. I'm using them as, I don't have to pay a therapist. I can sit and talk about my problems. Do you feel like it's therapy for you?
I actually think that we have one of the best jobs because people pay big money to go see a therapist and
Right,
just
that
talk
was
about
my
their problems. I get a chance to go up and talk about whatever happened to me every day, and people are going to pay me to tell them what's going on in my life. And it's awesome because you get off what's going on in your life that's negative. People that are in the crowd relate to it and give it back to you as laughter. And so now I don't have to hold on to this thing that happened to me because I received it back as laughter. And so now I see, oh, okay, I give it to them, they give it back. And so it's a really big transfer that everybody in the crowd can get a hold of. And the biggest difference is a therapist can only see one person at a time and get paid. I'm going to get 100 or maybe 200 people to get me a copay to hear my problem.
They don't get copay. You are a doctor. You are just a little doctor. That's the only word they know is copay. This is your copay. Oh, your foot hurts? I'm so sorry, little Johnny. Have you paid your copay?
What I heard in this thing so far is that Beyonce copay is $3,700. Because I can't wait till my copay gets $3,700. That's a high copay. Oh, she healing, boy. $3,700.
That was the cost of the ticket at that time. I don't know what it was. It was a tour, it was something. And somebody was going to tickets. It was like, I was like, I need a private, in the house. You get my requests, my favorite ones that I want. I need the whole, the team there, all the dancers, the outfit changes, all of that.
I think what's dope is that nobody knows how much something costs to you.
Right.
So if I could heal your hurt, there's no dollar amount for that. You know what I mean? So you got people that go to basketball games, they'll pay $10,000 to be on the front row.
That's why I don't leave the house. Right here is where I don't go anywhere.
But that's what I'm saying. So you don't have a lot of things that probably are
10,000
things like that. And some people
Beyonce need to raise her prices.
That type of enjoyment and that type of enjoyment to those players is worth $10,000, and so they're willing to do that for that 45 minutes. That's only 45-minute game. So you can't really put a price on what you can do for a person internally.
But I agree with that. But I think on the other side, the opposite side of that is you can't really put a price, or people don't understand the cost of what it takes to put on something. Even with me doing my shows, there are so many people who are like, Sharifah, you got to do a show. We love watching your shows. I love tuning in on your shows. Can I be a guest on your show? But they don't understand the cost I incur to create a platform for other people, for other people to watch, for other people to find enjoyment, for other people to advertise, for other people to do everything that they need to do. So see our guest and walked off the show.
I don't know how this got turned. I need to make sure that doesn't be there again.
Were there any comments or anything to make sure people can hear it? Because last thing you hear is people like, we can't hear you. We've been talking for 40 minutes and people are like, we can't hear you.
What was y'all talking about?
I don't know. I was just doing something.
No comments yet. Everything looks good though.
Oh.
We got 2 people watching.
We got 2 people watching. Thank y'all, every one of y'all.
Somebody liked.
Somebody liked. Did anybody share? I was supposed to do that, huh? I was supposed to do the whole okay, it's on the thing, so I don't worry about it. Okay, so we're back.
We're back in the studio. And this is the first show, so she's just working out things and making sure that she can, when she does go live for the first time, it looks great.
Does it look great?
It looks great.
It looks great. Okay, let's get back to it. I can sit here and talk about being in the studio forever. I'm excited. This is the first time I've actually interviewed people live in person. I've never done this before.
Yeah, I was watching a couple of your past shows, and it looked like they were some somewhere else.
Yes.
Jump out the screen.
I jumped up the screen.
Yeah, it was people talking. You don't like to be on the screen.
No. Actually, you know what? Oh, I love doing the shows, and it's not that I don't always like to be on the screen. But sometimes I have stuff to do. Like maybe I have to go run somewhere real quick or grab something, and I'll put the screen on there, and then I go handle my business, come back.
You give them a heads up. I need you to drop it in there.
I do. I have. You laughing? I'm telling you, this is serious.
How do you give them a comment? You put that in the comments. I need you to talk about that's that minute.
I can't. I have.
Right back.
Right. It's not easy.
Because you can send private messages.
You can send private messages, or I have people do that to me as well. Like, I remember one lady in particular, she said that she had rescheduled on my show. She was a guest, and she said that she wasn't feeling that well. But she said that she couldn't reschedule on me again, and she had to do the show. But she was like, I just have an occasional cough. I was like, well, you just have to cough, like, just mute it, and we'll go to somebody else. So the whole show, I wound up juggling to make sure she didn't have too much on camera time, but she had to talk too much. But yeah, I do a lot of
coughing.
No, I didn't. I mean, she coughed, but the camera didn't catch her coughing. The people never knew,
I just coughed earlier. So I think
they cough. I was coughing too.
They got us coughing.
We gonna edit it. It's okay.
So, what else we?
I was talking about you.
Oh, okay.
Bring it back to the question. It's gonna really be the direction of virtual.
I know about some money. I'm sure it was about some money. Ask Sharifah about some money. How to make some money.
That's the question. Right. How do you monetize your gift?
I mean, and that takes time. I'm sure everybody wants to get paid and stuff like that, but until you have stuff that you feel like it's worth putting out, and I'm sure it's like that with artists too. Every rap they rap or every song they sing, I'm sure they're not like, oh man, this is ready. It takes time to realize what people want and what people like, and now 16 years in, I have an amount that I charge, per certain minutes and stuff like that. So that's how I feel.
How did you come up with that amount though? That's all I want to know. Like, is it per laugh, per word? Like, what's the
more? It's more time. More time. I feel like 10 minutes of my time is worth a certain amount, and then for every 10 minutes, you're gonna pay that amount, and then I also charge for travel. And, so.
Were you ever, sometimes people learn that the hard way. I was having a conversation with a young lady the other day, and she's a cleaning lady, and she was just starting her business, and she was in the Torrance area, and she was very frustrated, and she was telling me that she had a client that she had booked in Fontana, and she went, the lady was like, she had to have her, she loved her. So she goes to Fontana, and the lady wasn't even there. And so she missed out on this job and his money.
It's not right.
Right. But the whole point was that I was saying to her was that that's not that lady's fault. It's your fault. Because in business, you should at least have to receive 50% or more of the cost before even leaving the house. Some things are just good business practices.
Absolutely. And I do to lock in a date, have a friend. That's a deposit, and that locks in your date. So, friends of mine, different comics, you can, oh man, put me down for Friday, lock me up Friday. That's fine. But if something else comes up Friday, I'm doing that because you didn't lock in the date with me. I can only go by who locks in the date with me. Like you are offering me money to come do a show, I have to block that day. I can't do other shows.
You're like Mr. Amen. That's what they call you, right?
Right. Mr. Amen. No, that's what they call it. I guess it's Amen.
Okay. I haven't heard that somewhere at the show. But when you start setting your prices, especially, I think people, they laugh and have a good time, and then when you tell them they have to put a deposit, was that difficult for you at first? Was it difficult for people was it just that's the way it was?
No, it is a challenge at first because you don't really know what your gift is worth. So when I was first charging people, it was a challenge to get them to see what it was. I mean, some people don't even realize how long it takes to tell what it does. Like,
How long does it take to tell what
it
it
takes a long time. I mean,
a long time.
I got
Like
jokes
2
that ain't
hours.
I got jokes that ain't even done yet. And I've been doing them for 5, 6 years. They ain't done. There's still stuff to add. There's still stuff to add. But they don't realize, I've got to drive to these comedy clubs every night. I've got to eat. I've got to take plane trips to someplace. So, to do comedy for 16 years and, working comedian, you spend a lot of money. Same thing with, like you said, with this business. I mean, anytime you're going into business, you're going to spend money to be worth what it is that you're saying your cost is. You know what I mean? So when I tell somebody my price now, I don't even think about it because I'm like, all you gotta do is see me. All you gotta do is see me, and you might pay more. That's why I try not to even say no price. You might want to give me more than what I'm saying. Like, no, you worth $3,700 for 45 minutes. I'm like, look at God.
I think he's gonna say it.
Let him use it. So that is that's where a lot of the cost for a person develops. You start to think about all the time, all the money that you've invested, and all the things like that, and then you say, okay, well, my time now is worth this much, and I won't do.
But don't people always make you feel like you have, or try to make you feel like you have to justify that cost? Like, okay, the $3,700. Okay, well, it cost me $2,000 to do this. It cost me $1,500. When you can just simply say that's the cost, that's the price. When you go to the store, for the most part, you don't force people to have to justify their price. You can look at them and you can buy them. You can think that's kind of high. Or like when people ask me about different things, say, well, is it expensive? I always say expensive is relative. You know what I mean? What's expensive to one person is not going to be. It's going to be way too low for somebody else. Right. Yeah.
It's crazy. Some people, they hit you and you were just so funny. We love to have you again. And you tell them the price and they're like, oh, I thought you guys said you really liked me. I said you really wanted me. You got to have me. This, that, the other. And they forget, you know what I mean? That, it costs to do what we do too. I still got to get to your place. I got to make sure that I'm dressed right for your place. You know what I mean? I mean, it's very interesting when people have to really actually pay for something. The value transfer, like they see the value in wanting it, but then once they get it, now they have to try to justify that value. It's like, no, you wanted it.
Right.
And the reason you wanted it is why you should pay for it. You shouldn't now have to, oh, no, I got it. Well, man, there's only 2 pieces of meat on there. This is what you said you wanted.
Right.
You saw it up there, had the picture, everything. Now it's in your face. Now it's in your face. You had to pay for it.
Right.
Now you're like, wow. I mean, he was cool. But 37, so
okay.
It's relative. It's all relative. It's how much you appreciate it. Like I sat on the floor of a basketball game, and it was free for me. But I was looking at some of the people down there, and the value to them to be down there is worth more than some of the people that were behind them. You know what I mean? And that's relative to you. You know what I mean? You can't put.
But some things, like you just, I think we're about to say, some things I believe are truly priceless. With the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce, we did an event on June 11th, and the tickets weren't that high, in my opinion, at all. It was high relative, but they weren't that high. But
what was the ticket?
I don't even tell you. Tickets were $100.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
To see what?
Okay, that's what I'm saying. But the introductions that were made, the people that met at that dinner, it took me months to kind of even recover from like, oh my God, I met all these people, have all these connections, and I know a lot of people, which is, and I'm saying that with all companies. But the reason I say it is why I want to do this show, why I'm doing it in the studio. I want people to be in get to know a lot of the people that I was able to meet, not just that night, but just throughout life. Like yourself, I did a comedy show with the Southern California Black Chamber Conference, and we performed. It saved the show. It was a miracle from heaven. God opened up the heavens. There was Andre Davis.
It was Mr. Amy.
Mr. Amy. Yes. And you were hilarious. You know what I mean? So I want people to meet people such as yourself.
Well, that's awesome. And then, you know, we need people that think more about other people than themselves. You know, you're going to get farther pushing somebody than you are trying to push yourself. You know, once you push somebody, people are going to push you as well. So it's a great thing you're doing.
Okay. Now, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And we will be right back.
Right.
Get out of here. All right. And do you got the pastor coming up there too?
That's what I'm checking out.
All right. Let's see. Greetings from Columbus, Ohio.
Who's that?
Deanna Jordan.
That's my mom. And she doesn't come.
You said she's not in Columbus?
Hello?
Oh, from Columbus. Wow. Yeah.
Hello? Are you coming back? Yes, you say yes. And I'm like, come back.
Okay, we can send him a link. Just look at the camera. Oh,
Are you sure?
sure what? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, we're making sense. You got some deep questions there, young lady. Way to bring it out.
You stopped the stream?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we still streaming.
Oh, should I what should I?
No, what are you doing? No. Because then I can do the closing. I just was like, okay.
So is he not gonna make it?
No, wait, hold on.
Okay. We can play the song again.
Yeah, let's play song while we sitting here on break.
In the studio, 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 in the studio. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, in the studio. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, in the studio. in the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio.
Hi, I'm Sharifah Hardie. You're watching today. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And you know, I think you're doing it. You're going to do my thing to say, you know, you're going to say, oh, you know, that you agree with me. I think agree, but I feel okay. You know, today's the first day, the first show, and it's going to be soon. Agree with me. Come on, and let's do lighter.
in the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the in the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio. Welcome to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. In the studio, 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 in the studio.